Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. On the airwaves of 98.7 FM in New York. On the airwaves of 710 ESPN LA. And of course, again, ESPN Radio, Sirius XM. Channel 80. Lots of stuff to get into. We'll continue Super Bowl talk, even though next week, Super Bowl week, we'll get heavier into it. The NBA is heavily on everybody's mind right now. There's some stuff going on in the second city. That's Chi-Town, the city of Chicago. We'll definitely be talking about that. But obviously, as it pertains to LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, you've got Cleveland, you've got New York, you've got L.A., all on the minds of basketball folks the world over because of what's transpiring as we speak. Over the last 24 hours, what you heard was some acrimony that came into public view because LeBron James and owner Dan Gilbert for the Cleveland Cavaliers don't seem to be seeing things eye to eye. What you see is a situation that's very, very clear. And it annoys me when people act like they don't know what the hell is going on because it's obvious what the hell is going on. LeBron James is a three-time champion who's been to 6 consecutive NBA finals. He kind of knows a thing or two about getting to the championship round. And he's questioning the commitment on the part of the Cleveland Cavaliers because they need a backup point guard. They need another playmaker. And the fact that they don't have that in the aftermath of Golden State acquiring Kevin Durant, clearly elevating them to the favorites to capture the NBA crown this year, has LeBron James a little vexed. If you think for 1 second that LeBron James is uttering this stuff out of his mouth because he's worried about the Toronto Raptors or the Boston Celtics or the Atlanta Hawks, or the Washington Wizards, even though I love me some John Wall, who, by the way, will be on this show in about 26 minutes. Somebody needs to test you for something. LeBron James ain't worried about anybody in the East. LeBron James is worried about 2 teams and 2 teams only. It is the Golden State Warriors and it is the San Antonio Spurs in that order. Now, it doesn't have to be an order for him because he can only play one of them for the finals. They both can't play them. They're in the West. Only one of them are going to be in the finals. But both are equipped to beat this present Cleveland Cavaliers squad. And so as a result, you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. You've heard LeBron James chirping. All of a sudden, what do you do if you're Dan Gilbert? You sit up there and you make sure your subordinate, David Griffin, the general manager, speaks on behalf of the organization and in defense of the organization. And I got to admit to you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not like their defense is without merit. I mean, let's just analyze the waves. Let's be clear. They are not qualified to question the basketball acumen of LeBron James. Neither are any of us. But David Griffin, on behalf of Dan Gilbert, does have a valid point when he sits there and says, trading deadline ain't until February 23rd. He does have a good point when he says we have made moves in the past. He does have a good point when he says we're the reigning defending NBA champions. And right now we're sitting here as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Even though we're like 2-7 in our last 9 games or 2-8 in our last 10 games. The bottom line is we're 30-14 and we're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Chances are we're going to be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. What the hell are y'all sweating it for? Those are valid points. And when you consider the fact that those are valid points, that those are points that cannot be ignored, and you couple that with the fact that Dan Gilbert has the highest payroll in the NBA at about $127.5 million, they make a good point. It's just that LeBron knows basketball, which brings us to the major point in all of this. Why would LeBron James, halfway through the season, be going off like this? Why would he veer away from his penchant to be politically correct and to refrain from providing any bulletin board material for us to highlight the internal acrimony that exists within the Cleveland Cavaliers organization? Here's why. Several reasons. Number one, him and Dan Gilbert never really had a relationship. Remember when LeBron left Cleveland to go to South Beach, and Dan Gilbert said those things he said about him? LeBron's never forgiven that. It's just that coming back home for the sake of himself and his family, being around friends, families, and loved ones was more of a priority than alienating yourself from that possibility because you despise Dan Gilbert. That's number one. Number two, his eyes are on the title. LeBron James plays for June. He does not play for November through April. He does not play to win division titles. He doesn't even play anymore to win conference titles. He's won 6 straight of those. It's about the chip. And when you put in the work that he puts in and that others put in, you don't want to go through all of that just to get to the finals and get slapped. Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors are coming. This is the team that went 73-9 last year. They had the all-time single-season record. They have the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. You got Draymond Green as a third wheel, and you add Kevin Durant to that crew? And not just about offense, because we know he's the most efficient superstar in the game today. I'm talking about Kevin Durant. But damn, he's 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan who can pull up from 30, handle the ball, lead fast breaks. He can defend on the perimeter. He can defend in the interior. They're number one in block shots, number one in steals, number one in disrupted shots. These boys are no joke. Who's going to beat them? Which brings us to all of this noise about Carmelo Anthony. Because when you think about Carmelo Anthony and you think about the New York Knicks, who are a dormant franchise being led into an abyss by Phil Jackson, who's asleep at the wheel because he's doing a job he never wanted to begin with for the New York Knicks. And that much is being exposed every single passing day. You saw the reports on ESPN. You're seeing the reports on Yahoo now. Forget the fact that I reported it a week ago, but that's neither here nor there. I said about a damn week ago about Carmelo and the Knicks and how from the time he met with Phil Jackson for a meeting that lasted no more than 8 to 10 minutes, Carmelo Anthony was willing to waive his no-trade clause. He was willing to go to Cleveland. He's willing to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. He's willing to go to the Boston Celtics, albeit for the Clippers in Boston, it has to be the right deal, whereas in Cleveland, all you have to do is tell him he gets to play with LeBron. I reported it a week ago, but we can ignore that. We can ignore the fact that on First Take and doing my own radio show, I'm no longer obligated to act like a beat writer and report and break news, but I did the damn thing anyway. We can ignore that. And instead focus on the fact that now this is what everyone's reporting. And what did I say 3 days ago, 2 days ago? And now it was confirmed by everybody else yesterday. The New York Knicks want to move Carmelo. They want him gone. They want to go the youth movement route. They want the team to evolve around Kristaps Porzingis and whoever else they acquire for the services of Carmelo Anthony. Cleveland was the number one target on their list. Cleveland doesn't want him. Instead, they want to hold on to Kevin Love. Kevin Love can play. Kevin Love can ball. He's averaging a double-double. There's no doubt about it. But also the fact that he can play and he happens to be white makes him very, very marketable in the NBA because you don't see white stars. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not mad. I think like that too. No negativity about that. But that's all encompassed in the situation. And as a result, Cleveland doesn't want to let him go. Do you think that was a good move or not? I happen to not think so. Here's why. Kevin Love and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as presently constructed, are going to the NBA Finals barring injury. But when it comes to the championship, would you rather have Kevin Love or would you rather have Carmelo Anthony with LeBron and Kyrie? I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm rolling with Melo in that scenario. And I think Cleveland made a mistake. What about you? 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. It's 866-729-3776. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show on 98.7 FM in New York, on 710 ESPN LA, on ESPN Sirius XM Channel 80. Who are you rolling with? What threesome do you think is ideal to knock off Golden State or San Antonio? Is it Love with Kyrie and LeBron? Or is it mellow with Kyrie and LeBron? Your thoughts and more up next. It's Stephen A. Yo, let me show you why Stephen A. Smith, yours truly, is the anti-President Trump. Meaning the opposite. Not against him, but the opposite. Let me tell you why. Because yesterday, if you watched Trump's interview with our very own David Muir, he seemed more hell-bent and focused on the crowd that showed up to his inauguration than anything else. Whereas just yesterday, the big league had the 30 most powerful individual in sports, and they had me listed as number one. As flattering as that may be in some people's eyes, let me tell you where all the flattery goes to. It goes to ESPN. Because assuming there's any truth to that I have any power, which I sincerely doubt, be very, very clear. It's because of the network I work for. If ESPN didn't put me on and then put me in the position that I'm in, I assure you, I wouldn't be on anybody's most powerful list. So if you want to give props, give it to ESPN. Don't bother throwing it my way. I just happen to work for the network. See the difference between me and Trump? Night and day, isn't it? Just thought I'd throw that out. 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. Keep in mind that in approximately 11 minutes or so, All-Star to be Mr. John Wall of the Washington Wizards, as promised earlier this week, will be our live guest on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. It's time we give this man the props that he deserves. And I asked for him to come on, and he's kind enough to do so. So he'll be on with us in just a little while. Let's go to the phones. 866-729-ESPN, 866-729-3776. Let's go to Travis in New York. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Travis? How are you?
What's up, Stephen A? How are you this fine afternoon?
Talk to me, man. I'm good.
You know, these LeBron comments, to be honest, are really, really ticking me off.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you, Stephen A. If someone like LeBron is coming and saying that a team with Kyrie Irving, LeBron James himself, Kevin Love, and then we got favorite Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, Channing Frye, just getting called over. You're telling me that you can't take your team far with that team?
No. Stop, Travis. You're being inaccurate here, so let me correct you. He never said he can't take his team far. They're talking about a championship. LeBron James fully expects to go to the NBA Finals. He's not going to say that flagrantly because you don't disrespect your competition in the rest of the Eastern Conference, but he fully expects to be in the finals. The issue in question is, do you have the horses necessary to beat a Golden State Warriors team that added Kevin Durant? That's what this is all about.
I understand that. But if you look at this as a legend's point of view, when Michael Jordan faced adversity in his career, he had Pippen, he had Rodman. Did he ever come out and say, yo, we need to get more talent? Did he ever put his...
Travis, when you call on this show, let me give you a piece of advice. It's not good to irritate the host. You're irritating me here because you're bringing up comparisons that have no merit. Don't give me Jordan and Pippen. They were the best. They didn't have the specter of a Golden State Warriors team that added Kevin Durant to it. The question is, if you follow basketball and you know basketball, Travis, answer me one question. Do you think the Cleveland Cavaliers with Love, Kyrie, and LeBron are good enough to beat Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and the Warriors? Yes or no?
Stephen, you're right. I do not think they could.
But wait a minute. That's all he's talking about. So if you're going to get on him, stick to that point and stop taking us all around the block, around the block, up the mile or a mile long and all. Get to your point and stay there. Go ahead.
All right, Stephen, I got you. But however, instead of LeBron coming out publicly and saying, my GM is going to make a move and get me another playmaker, which I think Dan Gilbert is one of the greatest to ever go down, I think he should have maybe done a little bit more privately so no one would know that LeBron is telling him that he has to go get more players. He's putting his GM, his front office, in a bad position.
That's fair, but did you just say that Dan Gilbert is one of the greatest owners?
I think he did a remarkable job with the Cleveland Cavaliers, yes.
Goodbye, Travis. Have a good day. Dan Gilbert spent some money. He deserves credit for that. But to say that, come on now. You've lost perspective. Let's go to LC in California. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, LC?
Yo, what's up, man? This is what I want to say. I get tired of people talking down on LeBron, but what I would propose, if I was, I'm a Cleveland fan, but what I would propose is let's send Love, let's get Melo, but we only take Melo off of Nick's hands if we get Jennings with it. That's what I would propose.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. You said what?
I said I would send Love to New York and take Melo off their hands. But I'm only going to take Melo if New York is sending Brandon Jennings with him.
Fair enough. That makes sense, LC. Think? I don't have a problem with that. If the New York Knicks clearly want to get rid of Carmelo, who is older than Kevin Love, if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers and I have an opportunity to unload Love, I might not do it straight up. I might want Brandon Jennings as well. I don't have a problem with that.
Right, and I think that could get done, and it's not being said, and I just want to put it out there. Cleveland, let's go. Let's get it.
Okay. I got you. Appreciate the call, man. You make a good point there. Adrian in Portland. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Adrian?
Stephen A., how's it going? Thanks for
I'm great. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
I want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. I think that Doc Rivers and Phil Jackson needs to talk and send Melo to the Clippers and send Blake to the Knicks. I would love to see the combination of CP3, Redick, Melo, and Jordan. And in my opinion, they would put up a good fight against the Warriors and the Spurs in the Western Conference. So what's your thoughts on that?
Not only do I agree with you, Carmelo Anthony agrees with you. And a lot of other people do as well. Doc Rivers' reluctance is A, Carmelo's age, B, Carmelo sustaining some injuries himself. But Blake Griffin having suffered from injuries over the last 2 years, making some of the idiotic decisions he's made, and being soft when it counts most in crunch time resonates with him. Now, I think Blake Griffin's a star. I really, really do. But that's also a knock against him, because as much of a star as I think he is when he's healthy, he could be bigger if he had the right mental makeup. If you put Blake Griffin's body, if you put Chris Paul's mentality in Blake Griffin, you have a superstar.
Oh, one last thing. I expect the Clippers to make the semifinals. Melo, he can get you buckets with the Clippers. I just feel like if they face the Warriors first, he would face a good matchup. But all right. Thanks, Stephen A.
Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate the call, Adrian. Thank you so much. 866-729-ESPN is always the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. Your phone calls are still to come on Melo, on the Cavs, on where you think would be an ideal landing spot for Melo. I'll also tell you why the Clippers should be trying to make some moves. I'll tell you exactly why they shouldn't rest on their laurels, and they should be trying to do something as the show progresses. But not before I have my next guest on the line, who's just been named by the coaches to be an Eastern Conference All-Star reserve. I'm talking about All-Star point guard John Wall of the Washington Wizards. He's up next with yours truly right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Lady, 98.7 FM in New York, 710 ESPN LA. Any minute now, we'll be having on the new All-Star point guard, John Wall of the Washington Wizards. It'll be his fourth appearance in the All-Star game. It takes place in New Orleans on Sunday, February 19th. The rest of the All-Star reserves, 7 per conference, will be announced later today. He's averaging about 23 points, 10 assists. Ranks third in the league in assists. Wizards are 25-20, sitting in the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference standings, crawling towards the Atlanta Hawks and others, Boston Celtics. Let's keep that in mind as well. Wizards' whole goal is to at least get the 3rd seed in the East, because they believe they could beat anybody outside of Cleveland in all likelihood, and then you won't have to face Cleveland until the conference finals, assuming you got through the first 2 rounds. So if anybody's going to be aware of that, it's going to be John Wall, and I can't wait to talk to him to hear what he has to say about all of that. 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. It's 866-729-3776. Until John Wall comes on, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Bob in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Bob, what's up?
How you doing, Steven?
Go ahead, bro. I'm good, man. Go ahead.
All right. First of all, with this LeBron deal, let's just kick some facts. He's basically looking for help again. He did it when he lost to Boston, his last game in Cleveland the first time.
Yep.
Took off his jersey.
Yep.
Needed some help. Called his boys, got them together. He got 2 championships out of it. Went back to Cleveland, needed some more help, got Kevin Love for Wiggins, and now he's crying again.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, and I'm from the 80s and 90s. I mean, that's my growing up time, teenage years in the 90s. Come from the time when Ewing ain't have no help. Okay?
Where did I get
Ewing?
Ewing?
Crying about it.
Where did I get Ewing? Where did I get Ewing?
Huh?
Where did I get Ewing?
I'm trying to make. I know. Let me make my point.
Well, brother, this ain't your show. It's mine.
I'm coming from the era.
So I gotta rush you. But go ahead.
I can't respect the man who cries for it when he's supposed to be the best player in the world and the best player since Jordan, and all he does is act like you know what.
Oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute, Bob. You can't respect him at all, even though he's a 3-time champion and went to 6 straight finals? You might not like it, but when you say you can't respect it, is that going a bit too far?
Let me kick it to you, though. He went to 6 straight finals.
All right. Bob, hold on. Stay on the line. I don't want to interrupt you, but you can't come before my next guest. The newest All-Star, the first All-Star reserve for the Eastern Conference. I'm talking to All-Star point guard, 4-time All-Star point guard, Mr. John Wall of the Washington Wizards. What's going on, big bro? How are you, man?
I'm chilling, my man. Just finished practice. How you doing?
I'm doing great. First of all, I don't do this very often, John Wall. I don't do this very often. But I want to sit up here and apologize to you because, damn it, you have not gotten enough recognition. I had to go off about this earlier this week. I watched you guys. I watched you at the Garden the other night. I watched you against Charlotte. I've seen about 20 or 25 of your games this year. From the first quarter to the fourth quarter, you are the one dude on your squad that comes to play every night. You deserve this All-Star nod, and I'm proud of you for having it. I want you to talk to me about the kind of season you think you're having.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Thanks a lot. I just think it's a heck of a year, coming off 2 knee surgeries, just coming back and just focusing a lot on my rehab just even to come back to be ready to play early in the season. And guess what, my teammates, man, those guys have been great for me, give me opportunity to be great and be the leader of this team as a point guard and setting everybody up and just being aggressive offensively. My coaching staff with Coach Brooks, he came in and talked to me right after surgery, told me what he wanted from me, and that's all I'm trying to do is just lead this team as far as I can and make the playoffs. When you talk about leading this team, first of all, let's go to Scott Brooks. He's the new coach. We all know that he could coach from his days in Oklahoma City, coaching Durant and Russell Westbrook. But at the same time, when y'all started off 7-13, there was some questions about this team, the direction it was going in, et cetera, and now y'all have won like 18 of the last 25 games. Talk to me about the impact Coach Scott Brooks has had on this team and how it's been different from previous coaches of the past for you.
No, I think just for one, he coming in, he's holding everybody accountable. He's not showing no favoritism. He gets on me in film, gets on me in practice, and pushing me to another level. When everybody see me as the best player getting talked to like that, he can do it to everybody else. And when we was in that slump, he told everybody to look themselves in the mirror, figure out what you want to do, how you want to play, and what you think your role is on this team. We all figured it out, and we all locked in as one team, and we got one ultimate goal, and let's just try to do our best and give 110% effort on both ends of the floor every single night.
We're talking to John Wall, all-star point guard for the Washington Wizards, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get back to your teammates, because even though the coach holds y'all accountable, you've been known to hold your teammates accountable. You're not shy about holding yourself accountable. If you feel you're struggling and not playing up to snuff, you'll tell the world that you could do better. But you also won't hesitate to tell the world when your teammates can do better. Talk to me about how you've grown to feel about this team, because there have been times in the past when you have not hesitated to be critical about the team.
I think they're just having great veterans around me and great coaches. In the day, if I hold myself accountable and I know I can talk to myself and put myself out there in the media house when I'm not playing well, I can do the same by my teammates. And one thing I go about it is I'm not trying to bash them or throw them under the bus. I just like to keep it honest and keep it real. man, I think that's one thing that a lot of my teammates respect for me and understand. They see me putting the work in, they're doing the same. So I think that's why you can have the verge of you got to know how to talk to guys, and you got to talk to certain guys certain ways, and I figured that out throughout the years.
John Wall right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I look at you guys recently. Last year, y'all were a 500 team at 41-41. A couple of years ago, you went to the playoffs. You were 46-36. Year before that, you were 44-38. But somehow, some way, when you think about the John Wall that played and starred at Kentucky and competed for a national championship, you just got the sense that you expected more than you received from Washington, even whether it be from yourself or from the organization. I know you're feeling good about this now, but could you speak and harken back to how tough these last few years have been for you in Washington, considering how much of a competitor you are and how uncompetitive your team appeared at times?
Sometimes it can be tough, because you want everybody to have that same chip, that same urge and eager mindset of wanting to win all the time. You got some guys that don't have that and some guys that do. But I think one thing is, as a leader, you can try to instill that into people. And you can't bring the dog to everybody, but you can get everybody to go out there and compete and try to fight. I think at times, we dealt with injuries here and there, and we always say, stand up. Sometimes I think it's not you don't, but you got to go out there and compete with what you have on the floor. And no matter we made, we didn't sign the right people in free agency. Whenever I walk into the locker room, and the other 14 guys I have on my team, I believe
Yeah, you're going in and out a little bit. Hopefully you can stand still or whatever. I know you're on your cell. We're talking to John Wall, all-star point guard for the Washington Wizards, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. When they paid Bradley Beal, I'm a fan of Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal can play. I love the fact that he could shoot so well, even though he had a recent slump that he's just getting out of. When I think about him, I think about the likes of a Allen Houston in terms of how he can shoot the basketball. But I still see you as the clear leader of this team. And to me, what elevated you to another level is when Bradley Beal got that money, which was significantly more than the contract you had signed a year or two earlier. I never saw any diminished quality in your game. It seems like you went out to remind the world, no matter who's getting paid, no matter what they're doing, this is still my team. Was that your attitude once Bradley Beal got his money?
Yeah, that was my attitude. And also, bring him along with me. That's my little brother. And I knew, and I always cared about him. We're both healthy. We're a tough tandem to deal with. And he's proven that this year. When he's healthy, he's a heck of a player. And I think a lot of people don't really get to see that because he's been injured in and out. And that's the same thing I kind of dealt with. But like I said, I tell everybody, let him earn his money. Like this year, he's earned it. And everybody's starting to give him the respect he deserves. And without him out there, I wouldn't be the player. He spreads the floor for me. He attacks when he has the ball and give me shots from time to time. So, let people know.
John Wall, right? John Wall right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. John, how good can this Wizards team be? How far do you legitimately believe y'all can go this season in the Eastern Conference?
I think we can go far. I feel like, 2 through 8, any team can go anywhere. You can fall any place. Our ultimate goal is just to try to get the top 2 or 3, 1 through 3. Cleveland's the team everybody wants to go beat and challenge. We want to be one of those teams that we don't have to see them to the finals, the conference finals, and see where it goes. But I feel like we can go far. As long as me and Brad stay healthy and we keep leading these guys, we can go as far as possible.
One of the things I look at, and I want to know what you would describe, how often do you communicate with Ernie Grunfeld, the president of basketball operations for the Wizards?
That's funny. I just had to talk with him today. So we talk mostly 2-3 times a week. Try to. He's always at our practices talking to us and coming to watch us work. So we try to talk as much as possible and pick his brain and feel like what we can add to the team or what we feel like guys are doing and what we can do to try to improve us as players or as personnel.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because the next question I'm going to ask. When everybody talks about what needs to be added for the team, you got folks in the nation's capital, Chocolate City, craving for DeMarcus Cousins, your former teammate at Kentucky, to end up in Washington. Do you talk to Ernie about that at all? Do you get in his ear and tell him, get DeMarcus Cousins to Washington, D.C.? Do you do that at all?
We talk about certain situations, that'd be great to always be back with my brother and play with him. But also, you just got to make sure everything fits the way you want it to as a team. We talk about it from time to time, but right now we enjoy what we have as our team. We try to get that as accomplish as much as possible and win as much. And when those times come about adding pieces, you talk about it and see if it works. But if not, the 14 guys you have in that locker room, you got to go to war with them.
You had off-season surgery on both knees, yet you were still available since day one of this season. You're averaging 23 and 10. I believe you're one of the better guards because you play on both ends of the floor. Where would you rank yourself, especially at this point in your career, against some of the elite point guards in the NBA that are constantly mentioned?
It's a lot of great guards, man, and a lot of great guards have a heck of a season. I put myself in the top 5. I mean, there's a lot of great guys, like you said. I pride myself for doing it on both ends of the floor. There's a lot of guards we have that just do it on one side. I pride myself for trying to do it on both sides of the floor, so I think that's what puts me above a lot of people.
Before I let you get on out of here, what would you define as success for this particular season, considering the way that things are going for you guys right now? What would qualify as a successful season for you in your eyes?
The only thing I qualify as a successful season is if we finish the top 14 in the East. And we make it to the conference finals. I've been to the second round twice. Fell short, one because of injury, one because we was an inexperienced team that didn't know how to close our games. But those are my ultimate goals, and I feel like if we don't accomplish those, it's an unsuccessful season.
John Wall, I'm proud of you, bro. Keep up the great work, my man. I promise you won't go unnoticed anymore. No need to complain to the television networks about you not getting enough notoriety. I promise you that, bro. I promise you, okay?
Appreciate it, my man. Have a good day.
Take it easy. I'll see you around. The one and only John Wall, point guard for the Washington Wizards, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729. ESPN is the number to call up. This 866-729-3776. I'm going to tell y'all why I had him on the show. I had him on the show because of those off-season surgeries on both knees and the fact that he was still available for game one. I have him on the show because I watched this guy averaging 23 and 10. Every time he goes up against big-time point guards, the Kyrie Irvings of the world, the Kyle Lowrys of the world, the Russell Westbrooks of the world, the Steph Currys of the world, the list goes on and on. He shows up and embraces and accepts the challenge. Bradley Beal gets $128 million, about $40 million more than John Wall. He said, damn it, it's still my team. I don't give a damn who's here. He's going to get in Ernie Grunfeld's ear about trying to get DeMarcus Cousins to Washington, D.C. He's going to be diplomatic about it because you can get fined for talking about another team too much. Got to watch stuff like that. But in the end, what it comes down to is that from start to finish, first quarter to fourth quarter, this brother is in attack mode, bringing it every single night and making sure that folks in D.C. get their money. And after what Gilbert Arenas did to that franchise, damn near shredding it into oblivion, this dude comes along and saves the day. They still been in the playoffs the last couple of times in the last 3 or 4 years. They didn't completely fall off the map. John Wall is a bad boy. He's a bad boy. And it needed to be said, damn it. That's why I said it days ago. That's why I had him on the show just now. And I think you will be hearing from him because I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Washington Wizards ended up catching the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference because you heard John Wall said the goal is to avoid Cleveland until the conference finals. That's their goal. And I think he's going to pull it off, too. 866-729-ESPN. It's You know, ladies and gentlemen, to show you how thoughtful I am, how sincere I am, how decent I am, I got a friend. It's one of my boys. Got love for him, the whole nine. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to do that to him. You know, I really, really don't. But this dude, I forbid him to call into my radio show. It's one of my boys. I've known him for years. Good dude, good brother. Very knowledgeable about the game of basketball, but occasionally he is absolutely insane. Do you know this boy actually just texted me saying that the Cleveland Cavaliers should trade Kyrie Irving to the Lakers for D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson? I told him, I said, you're insane. Don't call into my radio show. Don't call me. You need to be drug tested. That's the most asinine thing that I've ever heard. Now, if you're talking Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, yes, but they wouldn't do that in Portland just for Kyrie. But, I mean, are you kidding me? I won't even mention his name because I don't want to embarrass him like that. But it's just some people, see, y'all think y'all know so much about basketball. Sometimes y'all just damn insane. You lost your mind. Kyrie Irving for D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson. I like Jordan Clarkson. He's just an undersized 2 guard. D'Angelo Russell, I don't know about him. Not only do I not know about him as a basketball player, I'm scared of him in the locker room. I mean, Lord help me if I'm in the locker room and I transgress. I mean, he might dime me out. I don't know. But let me not get on him too much because he's actually a nice kid. So I'm going to leave him be. But I ain't trading Kyrie Irving for him and Jordan Clarkson. Some people are insane. You really are. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Up next. Stay tuned. Thanks again to all-star point guard John Wall of the Washington Wizards for coming on the show with us as he just did a little while ago. So much stuff to get into. Spent the first hour primarily talking about LeBron and Melo and how Melo's not going to end up in Cleveland because Cleveland doesn't want to let go of Kevin Love, how Melo could end up in L.A. with CP3. But a lot of people want to play with CP3 next year. CP3 is a quintessential point guard. You can't find players who do not want to play with him. Temperamentally speaking, sometimes in the past, that's been Blake Griffin, according to reports. Blake Griffin has categorically denied that, but nevertheless, that has been reported. But here's the deal. Blake Griffin, if you could take Blake Griffin's athleticism, his physique, his game, and put Chris Paul's mentality in his soul, Blake Griffin would be a superstar. But that's not how it is. And because of that, Blake Griffin is no superstar. So in order for somebody like Melo to end up there, Blake Griffin would probably have to be gone. There's lots of stuff going on. And not only that, Doc Rivers and CP3 still haven't been in the conference finals since they've been in L.A. So you got to wonder how much more Steve Ballmer is going to tolerate. These are all interesting points that can't be ignored. We'll see what transpires. We'll see how things go down. Stick around. It's Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let me go back to the phones because I had to cut Bob in Queens off prematurely because John Wall had called in. But now that John Wall is gone, I'm going to let Bob get back to his point. Bob, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, bro. I just had to go to John Wall.
No problem.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, man.
Thanks. I'm just on the point of on LeBron asking for help. And I'm just saying my point is, I mean, he's the best player in the world. Why does he keep doing this? Like, we already. I'm just saying, like, where I'm coming from, my era, from when I was watching basketball, they didn't do that.
Well, let me say a couple of points, Bob, and then you respond to my couple of points.
And the Eastern Conference thing.
Okay.
He went to six finals, yes.
In the
Who
East.
did he really play? Who did they beat in the Eastern Conference?
Well, let's talk about it, Bob.
What was the best?
Hold on, Bob. Let's talk about it. I'm not going to cut you off. Let's talk about it, all right? And you can respond to my points. Let's touch on your last point first. When he first arrived in Miami, let's not blame him for leaving Cleveland because it just wasn't to go and play with other guys. You remember, we don't want to bring up his business, but there was a lot of acrimony going on in Cleveland. A lot of personal stuff that was said about him. He felt alone and miserable and on an island. That wasn't just about basketball. You feel where I'm coming from?
I understand.
Right. So without going there, because we don't want to disrespect him, it wasn't just basketball. It was personal stuff that was going on with LeBron James in his life right now at that particular point. And he needed to leave Cleveland. So he goes to Miami. Yes, he went to Miami and joined D. Wade and Chris Bosh, none of whom had played together, unlike Kevin Durant, who joined Draymond, Steph, and Clay, who had all played together and already won a championship together. That's the difference. Then when he goes there, remember he goes there, Boston had just been in the finals, man. You got KG, you got Ray Allen, you got Paul Pierce, you got Rondo. So when he went to Miami, he had to go against them. Let's not forget that. It wasn't like there was nobody in the East. It was Boston in the East standing in their way.
Well, we all know when he went against them, they were on their last legs.
Hold it, but wait a minute. They took him to 7 games.
No, they did. They did. They scared them. They really scared them.
Yes, they did. So they weren't on their last leg. They had a little bit left.
I mean,
they almost beat them. They were up 3-2 when LeBron dropped 45 and 15. Remember that?
Yes, I do. But let's just say this: those 6, because everybody says that. Well, he went to 6 straight. I mean, come on, man. I mean, the competition in the East hasn't really been 90s worthy.
Well, let me stop you right there, Bob. Let me stop you right there. Why hasn't it been worthy? It's a rhetorical question. You know why? Because they ain't on LeBron's level. I understand measuring him against old school cats. We don't like what he does sometimes. I get that point. Some could say he's responsible for going from team to team and putting himself in ideal situations. That may be true, but it's not like this dude is riding somebody else's coattails. When he went to Miami, he was the man. When he came back to Cleveland, he's the man. And they've been to 6 straight finals. He's been to 6 straight finals because of him. He didn't ride somebody else's coattails doing it. He did it. We got to give him credit for that.
I do. I still say he's the best player in the world. I just don't like the tactic he goes to.
I feel you
that's
on that.
my point.
No, that's not my only point with you is that I was making sure that you're not taking away from him. He is who he is. You cannot like what he's doing. I respect that. But let's not act like the brother ain't the superstar that he is because of it. That's all I'm saying. We got to respect that.
He's the best player since Jordan. I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
I'm not. I mean, he is, but I mean, listen, Kobe. Listen, we had a debate on First Take this morning on ESPN with my man Max Kellerman, and look, as a closer, I would go to route of Kevin Durant before I went LeBron. I would go to route of Kobe before I went LeBron.
No, well, as a closer, yes, that's Kobe. Fourth quarter, end of the game, whatever. But I'm saying as a killer instinct, that's Kobe. But what I'm saying is all around since Jordan, this is the guy.
I got you. I feel you. Bob, I appreciate the call, man. I got to get some other callers, but thank you, man. I respect your basketball knowledge. And I respect the fact that you don't like that from LeBron. You got a right to feel that way, bro. That's a legitimate beef, no doubt. Spencer in New Mexico. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Spencer, talk to me, bro. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Stephen A., for taking my call. Big fan of yours, short-term listener, but just recently got the XM radio. But I agree with you 100%. I think Bob is a bit off there. LeBron, he says LeBron's whining, but whatever LeBron did, he got people on his team, and he won championships. And maybe he shouldn't have been public with what he said, but it's clear that he wants Melo. Melo, I've been a long-term fan of Melo. I lived in Denver for a while. I've always loved Melo as a player, as a person. He's a good player to be around. I think that's the best thing for the Cleveland Cavaliers to get back in there, and I think LeBron knows that.
Listen,
I think he knows that they're going to win again.
Here's what I would ask anybody. If you have to go up, because it's all about who you think is the obstacle standing in front of you. When you're talking about competing for championships, you have to look at who's standing in front of you. Now, to Bob's point, Jordan didn't have to worry about that. It didn't matter whether it was Barkley. It didn't matter whether it was Clyde Drexler and Jerome Kersey and those boys. It didn't matter whether it was Magic with Vlade Divac and those boys, or the second go-round with the three-peats. It didn't matter whether it was Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, or Sean Klump, as I like to call him. It didn't matter whether it was Karl Malone and John Stockton. The first three-peat, it didn't matter that it was Barkley and Dan Marley, and now the mayor of Sacramento with Kevin Johnson. It did not matter. You put Jordan in front of anybody, and he was going to handle his business. That clearly is not LeBron. But in the same breath, I can't take away the greatness that he's exuded. And by the way, his first year in Miami, they beat Boston 4-1. That second year, when Miami finally won LeBron's first title, it was when he was down 3-2 to Boston and exploded for game 6, 45 and 15. Well, what that tells you is that Boston had a couple of years left in them and almost knocked Miami off that second go round. So there was an obstacle for Miami when LeBron arrived in Miami. But go ahead.
No, and I agree with that. I think that's what he's looking at. He's looking at who he's going to face in the finals, and it will most likely be the Warriors. I'm a Spurs fan, been a Spurs fan my whole life, and I'm not a fan of LeBron James, really. But I cannot deny that he is the best player in the NBA right now, and he knows what he needs to get that next ring on his finger. He needs a player like Carmelo Anthony. No disrespect to Kevin Love. He's a terrific player, but I think Melo brings more of a dynamic to the game, and look at the matchups with the Warriors. He's an offensive player that can
create. He's an offensive player that can create his own shot when things break down, which Kevin Love can't do. Spencer, I appreciate the call, buddy. I got to run. Thank you so much. Got some bills to pay. 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. This 866-729-3776. We're talking Melo and LeBron. I got to get into what's transpiring in Chicago as well. I've held out on some information in regards to what's going on in Chicago with Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler speaking out as adamantly as they did following last night's loss where they blew a 10-point lead in the last 3 minutes. I'll get into what's happening in Chi-Town and how that could potentially affect Dwayne Wade moving forward. You don't want to miss this. Stick around. It's Stephen A. It's ESPN Radio. Holla at your boy. Sirius XM, Channel 80, ESPN Radio. Also 98.7 FM in New York, 710 ESPN LA. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. I've tried to refrain from really talking about the Chicago Bulls. But I must confess to you that things have gotten very interesting when it comes to this team. Right now, let's call this what it is. You really only have two players on the Chicago Bulls. I don't know if y'all noticed. You really only have two players. The two players are Jimmy Butler. He's the star, averaging 25 points a game. And, of course, you got Dwayne Wade averaging 19. Being over 34 years of age, still doing a little something for any team. But they're 23 and 24 following last night's loss. A loss in which they blew a 10-point lead in pretty much like the last 3 minutes or so to the Atlanta Hawks, ended up losing 119 to 114. They're losers of 3 of their last 5. They had a 3-game losing streak before winning 2 games against the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, and then obviously losing 2 straight to Dallas and Atlanta before beating Sacramento and Orlando and then losing at Atlanta last night. And Nuno, do we have sound from Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade? Because rather than me tell you what's going on in Chicago, listen to Jimmy Butler and especially Dwayne Wade when Dwayne Wade opens his mouth. Listen to this.
He was over there saying, just got to care if we win or lose. In end of the day, do whatever it takes to help the team win. You play your role to the team, be a star in your role, man. That's how you win in this league, man. You have to embrace what this team, what this organization needs for you to do on either end of the floor. And on top of everything else, man, just play every possession like it's your last. We don't play hard all the time, man. It's very disappointing whenever we don't play hard.
I don't know how you fix it. It just doesn't mean enough for guys around here to want to win ball games. And, it me off, but I can't be frustrated and I can't care too much for these guys. They got to care for themselves. So you got to do better, got to do better with knowing where your shot's coming and knock them down. You got to do better with knowing film, knowing personnel. This is a team. Just got to do better, man. They have to figure that out. As individuals, guys got to look at themselves in the mirror and see, do you really care enough? Are you putting everything into this for your teammates and for yourself? I'm 35 years old, man. I got 3 championships. It shouldn't hurt me more than it hurt these young guys. They have to want it, and if they don't want it, then we'll show up. We'll play Friday. Hopefully we win. If we don't, we'll go to dinner again. Keep it going until the season's over. So it has to change. It has to hurt inside.
That's Dwayne Wade, who's 35 years of age, who has 3 titles, who's been to 5 NBA Finals, who's clearly a future Hall of Famer, and one of the classiest dudes you'll ever want to meet. And in the interest of full disclosure, that's my man. We've known each other for years. I was at his wedding to the lovely Gabrielle Union, who I've known for many years as well. I love them both. But I'm the kind of person, I got that kind of relationship with people where it doesn't stop me from calling it like it is. They know that. And if I thought what Dwayne Wade was at fault here, I tell you, he's not. He's absolutely accurate. And in the interest of full disclosure, I have not spoken to Dwayne Wade because on issues where I know I got to get on people, I don't call them specifically because I don't want anybody thinking that I got the information from them. So I did not call him. I've not spoken to him about this, what's going on. But you heard what he said publicly. And by the way, Jerian Grant, the newly starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls, going on a Twitter rant talking about how he plays hard every day. Jerian Grant, here's some words of advice to you. Shut the hell up! Who was talking about you? You think when Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler decided to go off that you were the target of their ire? Don't be an idiot. Nobody was talking about you. What you getting on defensive for? Jerian Grant, no one was talking about you. The other guys, the Zipsters of the world and the Marodiches of the world and others that might have been being talked about by Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler. But I'm going to tell you who the biggest culprit in all of this is. It's Coach Fred Hoiberg. In the interest of full disclosure, understand that Fred Hoiberg is an incredibly nice man. A good, decent person. So says all the players who have played for him. That's not the issue here. Nor is it the issue of him knowing X's and O's. I had one player tell me he'd be an outstanding college basketball coach, which he was. But in the NBA, he should be a third assistant. Because he's passive. Because he doesn't want controversy and friction. Because he's scared to get in the faces of professional athletes who are grown men. He's scared of that. And here's the reality. As a result, you got a problem. You have to remember that last year I was interviewed by Jimmy Butler, and on the air, on the record, he called out Fred Hoiberg. Said if Fred Hoiberg lets us get away with too much. He said, let's us, not them, us. Jimmy Butler. That's what he said. He lets us get away with anything. Jimmy Butler's a man amongst boys, y'all. He's hardcore. This brother worked himself up, put on his boots, and he grinds. He played for Tom Thibodeau, who let no one off the hook. He ain't used to this. And he called Fred Hoiberg out and said he lets us get off the hook. This is at the beginning of the season, not the middle or the end of the season. This was at the beginning of the season. Jimmy Butler said that. This was to me on the record. So he was saying that about Fred Hoiberg then. You know what's going on in practices with the Bulls now? It's Dwayne Wade stopping being the bad guy and getting in brothers you know what. Because they ain't playing hard and they ain't running plays and they ain't doing what they supposed to do. And it's Jimmy Butler just cussing people out. And it comes across as disrespectful to the coach. Jimmy Butler don't care. Because he's trying to win. Doesn't resonate with the players coming from Jimmy Butler as much because he don't have rings. With Dwayne Wade, they have no choice but to listen because he does have rings, but they don't like it. So it makes him look like the bad guy, and Dwayne Wade has never been the bad guy in all his years in Miami. He never had to be because you had Pat Riley there. Which brings us back to the Bulls. And not just Coach Hoiberg, but the organization. Remember that dude, Jerry Reinsdorf? Who ran Phil and MJ out of there even though they were delivering championships? Remember how they hired Tim Floyd, who Michael Jordan ultimately called Pink Floyd? Remember how many years they lost until they acquired Derrick Rose in the draft? And Miami was hoping they would get the number one pick. And Chicago got it instead, so Chicago got Derrick Rose. And Pat Riley and Miami had to settle for Michael Beasley, who could score, but certainly wasn't the player that you expected him to be coming out of Kansas. Remember that? Drafting Derrick Rose is what made Chicago relevant again, not organizational decisions. And then you got Paxson in there, who I respect, and Gar Forman, who I respect. Here's what I don't respect. The fact that Thibodeau was pushed out the door. Now, he wasn't flawless. As the great Sam Smith, noted columnist for many years in Chicago, knows more about basketball in Chicago than anybody I've ever known, would easily point out Tom Thibodeau had his flaws. He was not perfect. But if you are going to lose a quality coach, because nobody can deny that Tom Thibodeau is a quality coach, if you're going to lose a quality coach in Tom Thibodeau, you damn sure can't replace him with Fred Hoiberg. Not Fred Hoiberg, who again is a nice man and knows basketball, but has a problem leading men. He's better off leading young men or boys. But the NBA is a man's game. And that is where your problem lies. Because Gar Forman and because John Paxson couldn't deal with Tom Thibodeau, they put their personal feelings ahead of the health of the organization. I'm not casting aspersions on them acting like they're incompetent or anything like that because I respect both guys. What I'm simply saying is, damn, If you're going to lose to Tom Thibodeau, you got to give us Hoiberg? That's your problem in Chicago. You don't have a leader on the sidelines, and you don't have leaders in the front office because everybody's thinking about being comfortable ahead of winning. And Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler are thinking about winning ahead of being comfortable. That's what you have going on in Chicago. And it's not going to get fixed. Dwayne Wade needs to get the hell up out of there. Find a way to position himself to make marketing dollars. But from a basketball standpoint, he needs to reunite with LeBron. Because when LeBron is talking about a point guard, ladies and gentlemen, that's who he's talking about. He don't want to say it. Chances are because it can't happen because of the money Dwayne Wade makes. But LeBron James wants Dwayne Wade in Cleveland. He always has. And it doesn't change now. That's what's going on. No matter what anybody tells you. I told you more than a week ago, New York Knicks are trying to get rid of Melo. I told y'all months ago LeBron wanted Dwayne Wade. You heard from LeBron himself how one day he hopes to play with his boys. If you got those two, the only thing missing would be CP3 this summer when he's a free agent. Open your eyes. Pay attention. I'm not saying what's going to happen. I'm just giving you Cat's Christmas wish list. Pay attention to your boy. And don't ever doubt me again. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Back with more of your phone calls in a minute. Eric in South Dakota. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Eric? Good afternoon.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Hey, just got a quick question. Just wanted to take you back in memory lane a little bit. You remember Game 7, LeBron, the finals versus... remember?
How can I forget that? That was the game Mike Miller dropped 7 3-pointers and gave LeBron his first title.
That was the game. That was the game against the Thunder.
Yes, in the finals, the first championship.
I'm talking their second championship against the Spurs.
Yep.
Game 7. You were at the game.
37-15 for LeBron. Yes.
Yeah. That big time block. I mean, he was hitting pull up jumpers. Not like they're fadeaways. There's just something that seemed pretty custom, pretty easy for him. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. You were at that game.
He gets in a roll. He gets on a roll, no doubt.
Just curious, why do you think there's some games he doesn't just resort back to just driving and pull up J's when everyone they all respect him for the drive? Why doesn't he just shoot more pull up jumpers?
Because LeBron is what you would describe as a temperamental shooter. What he does is when he's feeling it, he feels it. When he's not feeling it, you can tell because he has a slower release. Do you notice at times you watch him and the jumper is just flowing? He's falling away. He's fading away. He's making moves, etc., etc. Whereas at other times when he's not feeling it, he's sort of like feeling the ball. You know how like at the start of a game when a referee gives you the ball and you grab it and you spin it in your hands and you touch it and feel it and all of that stuff? That's what LeBron does in late games at times before he shoots when he's not feeling it. That's the problem.
I mean, I just feel that game at times it just looks like it's so easy for him, and I just don't understand why he doesn't force it more often.
It's not natural for him to be a shooter, Eric. Guys like Durant and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and others, when you're a natural shooter, the Ray Allens, the Reggie Millers of the world, people like that, the Kyle Korvers of the world, people like that, shooting the ball, it's all in one motion. The fluidity is there because it's what they do. LeBron can score, but he's a player. He's not a shooter. So shooting for him doesn't always come natural. It's game to game. You never know what you're going to get with him from the perimeter.
And that's kind of why you figure you take Durant to close it out versus him?
Yes. Because Durant, do you realize that Durant's an 88% shooter from the free throw line, career-wise? And LeBron
is that's huge. That is huge, actually. I will give you that. That is huge.
And LeBron is 74%. And Durant can take it to the hole, but he really, really is a shooter. LeBron is not a shooter. He just can take it to the hole on you. But chances are you can also foul him and send him to the free throw line, and it's a crapshoot. You send Kevin Durant to the free throw line, it's money.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
All right, I got to run, Eric. I appreciate the call, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Muhammad in Maryland. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Muhammad?
What's good, Stephen A? I agree with you that James Harden should be MVP this year, but why do you think Kawhi Leonard isn't getting any love?
Who?
Kawhi Leonard.
He's getting some love now. He's really elevated himself. It's a 3-horse race between Harden, Westbrook, and Kawhi Leonard. There's no doubt about that.
And I know the Knicks, they decided not to go with the trade, but if Kevin Love did come to New York, how far do you think we could have went?
You're not going that far. You ain't going much further. But the difference is that they want to evolve the team around a Porzingis and a Kevin Love because they think Kevin Love has more of a future in New York than Carmelo does. And not only that, he might be more receptive to a youth movement because of his style of unselfish play and his willingness to pass the ball, whereas Carmelo is a scorer and a shooter, and it's harder to do that with him. And getting back to your initial point as to, when you look at James Harden with Russell Westbrook and them, in terms of Kawhi Leonard not getting as much love, you got to remember, Houston stunk last year. They were an average team. Even though D'Antoni is my coach of the year thus far, when you look at the way James Harden is playing with him at the point, it's been absolutely spectacular. You look at Russell Westbrook with 23 triple-doubles. That's spectacular. As spectacular as Kawhi Leonard has been, 40 points the other night against the Cavaliers was the first time he ever scored 40 points. Plus, not only do you have the player and the personnel, but you have the great coaching of Greg Popovich. So a lot of times you'll give the credit to a great coach, and that'll take away to some degree from the greatness of the player, whereas you don't view that as the same situation with Billy Donovan in Oklahoma City or Mike D'Antoni in Houston, which is why Russell Westbrook and James Harden would get more love than Kawhi Leonard, because they are viewed as having less support than a Kawhi Leonard, to answer your question directly.
All right, bro. Thanks for putting me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No problem. Charles in California, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Charles?
Hey, Stephen A., I just want to say you a treasure, man. You do have power because a lot of people follow you. And I want to get on this trade, man, because what is Carmelo going to help Cleveland? Are they going to help? He's going to help them play better D?
No. But
I think that's the problem.
He's not going to help them. He's not going to help them play better D, but he is an additional playmaker who takes the pressure off LeBron to actually score because he's capable of doing it. Could you imagine Carmelo having the ball kicked out to him from LeBron with wide open shots? Could you also imagine when plays break down, unlike Love, Carmelo can create his own shot?
I can't imagine that, but I can also imagine the shootout that they're going to have to go up against playing Golden State. And I don't think Carmelo's going to help them stop Golden State.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. You're right about that. But I have to ask you this real quick question before you go. Is Kevin Love going to defend anybody on Golden State?
No.
That's the point.
But the problem is team play. They're not playing good team play right now.
What I'm saying to you is this. Melo does not upgrade them defensively, but it's a wash, him and Kevin Love. But offensively, he is an upgrade because he can create his own shot when things break down. That's the advantage that you have by having Melo instead of Love, which is why if I were Cleveland, I would send Love to New York, and I would bring Melo to Cleveland. I think Love with Kristaps Porzingis could be good in New York City, but that's just me. 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. That's the number to call up. And we'll close the show with your phone calls in a minute. It's Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
What's up, Stephen A?
I'm good.
I just want to say real quick, people talking about what makes basketball sense for the Cavs. Well, what my sense I've seen in the finals, the reason why Kyrie and LeBron had to go banoodles is because Kevin Love averaged 7.3 points a game on 36% shooting, 26 from 3, and 6 rebounds, and 1 assist.
Yep.
So I think that people need to think about that when they got to go against Kevin Durant and them boys. And also, they actually won Game 3 without Kevin Love by 30 points. I just wanted to say that.
You're right. Appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. Brandon in South Carolina, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Brandon?
Man, I've been trying to call in for the last 2 days. You remember I previewed that point a couple of days ago. It's been hell trying to get in.
Well, my man, you just wasted 15 seconds of your time complaining about the fact that you on the line when you got limited time to begin with. But go ahead.
Man, dang. Well, I feel like I was going to talk about Chicago. The night before last, when the Chicago won, I think they played the Magic. Dwayne Wade got asked something about opting out or something like that. He actually responded to the question. And that's when they won. I didn't agree with that, the way he was talking about when they actually won that game.
He's been disgusted with them because of what he's seen in practice and the fact that he has to be the bad guy. And he's never been comfortable being the bad guy. That's not who he is. But he has to be because he's not going to sit idly by while guys ignore their responsibilities and don't handle their business. He's going to lose his mind off of that, Brandon.
They still have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. Like, if you're anybody in the East.
Chicago's irrelevant. We all know that. They're going home in the first round if they do make the playoffs. Come on, man.
Right.
We know that. Talk to you later, Brandon. Marvin in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Marvin?
Yes, Stephen A. A couple things. First off, good job, as usual, reporting days ago that the Knicks was looking to trade Carmelo. You know, great day work as usual. But don't you think Carmelo Anthony's camp is wary of him going out to, let's say, the brutal Western Conference? I mean, to play with a CP3 and Doc Rivers, I mean, definitely will fit in offensively. Mm-hmm. But you have to account for the part that, you know, Carmelo is this year. He's a step slow defensively.
You want me to tell you why it's not a concern, Marvin?
Yes.
Because when you've been bounced out of the first round 8 times, you've only played in the conference finals once, and never ever in your career you have played in an NBA finals. Any success beyond the first round is good for you. And
but you and I both know that's not good enough for Carmelo. Carmelo must go to an NBA finals. And
well, I think he must. I think he must. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that when you're sitting there mired in a situation with the New York Knicks, it's not like it's got to be Cleveland or bust. You got to find yourself in a better situation that puts you in a position to compete. And if Carmelo was playing with CP3, I can tell you he doesn't believe that he's just going to sit there and disappear and not make some noise in the playoffs. He believes with him and CP3, he can make some noise.
Absolutely, but he definitely can, maybe a first round, but just call a spade a spade. Western Conference Finals just wouldn't be good enough with that squad. His best bet would absolutely be Cleveland, because going to Cleveland is
yeah, but what if it can't happen, Marvin? Then what? What if he can't get to Cleveland? What does he do? Sit on his behind in New York?
No, absolutely not. But he knows he can get to Cleveland. You know he can get to Cleveland as well.
That's not true. Cleveland turned down a deal.
Runs that organization one way or the other.
Goodbye, Marvin. You're not listening. I don't have time. You're not listening. Cleveland turned down the deal. LeBron, you think LeBron didn't want Melo there now? Cleveland turned it down. Why y'all keep acting like LeBron just snaps his finger and Dan Gilbert's going to do whatever he wants to do? It doesn't work that way. They don't have a great relationship. Pay attention. Keon in Washington, D.C., you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A.? Good to talk to you again. You're right. And I think that's the reason that the trade isn't happening. I think because LeBron's speaking out and they initially turned it down, I think that actually reduces the chances of it actually happening closer to trade deadline, because Dan Gilbert's a prideful guy a little bit to a fault, and he doesn't want to feel like he's caving into LeBron. Right. And I think that ultimately I think it should happen. And I think
it should happen. It could. But this notion that LeBron can snap his finger and get what he wants. Well, if he can snap his fingers and get what the hell he wants, why would he complain? Because evidently people spend time not listening to him. That's the problem.
About Carmelo on the defensive end, and this is why it's just shocking to me that they don't do the trade, is of course he's not going to play as much defense. He's not a great defender in the first place, but when he's doing so much on the offensive end of the court in New York, he doesn't got the energy to play D. On the Olympic team, I saw him playing pretty good D, and as night, he wasn't a ball.
All right. I got to go. You lost me when you brought up the Olympics. Who cares? Who cares? What, because you didn't play defense against Spain or Algeria? Come on, man. Don't waste my time with that. By the way, I didn't bring up Goodell and Brady because I'll get on that as the week progresses. We all know that Goodell don't want no parts of handing Brady the trophy. Let's stop that nonsense, but we'll get into that another day. Jake in Los Angeles, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Jake?
Hi, Stephen A. I love your John Wall take earlier, and then obviously in yesterday's show, or the previous day's show as well.
I got it. You got 30 seconds, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. How about a Kyrie Irving for John Wall swap? Because John Wall shares the same agent as LeBron and the crew in Cleveland.
Why would Ernie Grunfeld give up John Wall right now. John Wall, I mean, as bad as Kyrie Irving is, he don't play defense like John Wall. He don't play on both ends of the court like John Wall, and he's not as invested in the Wizards organization as John Wall is. And John Wall is practically just as young. He's bigger. He's a defensive wizard as well. He's averaging 23 and 10. Why would you give up John Wall? Nonsense. I'd keep John Wall. As much as I love Kyrie Irving, I would keep John Wall if I were the Washington Wizards. I wouldn't even think about it. Talk to y'all in 22 hours from now. I'm about to sign off. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Holla at y'all in 22 hours.
Golf fan.